Guys, I'm so excited! Live and Love Local is back, and now we're about to feature the first episode of the new year with the best tattoo artist in town, Mr. Daniel Lang. Come check it out! What is going on, everyone? Lana Rodriguez here with PCS Colorado, coming to you in 2020 with our first episode of Live and Love Local, the show where we support and highlight the local business owner. And right now, I have a pleasure with being with the famous Mr. Daniel Lang. Daniel, hi.
Hi, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh my God, I cannot believe I finally got on your calendar so we can do this great little piece with you.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited for it. I wouldn't say I'm famous by any means. Maybe for this little teeny town, I might have a few followers, but yeah.
Well, for some of you who are watching who don't know who Daniel is actually top tattoo artist in Colorado Springs. Daniel, can I tell you how I first heard about you?
Go for it.
All right. So true story, guys. I have been PCSing because I'm Army spouse, and we've been at Fort Lee, Virginia. And somebody who used to be PCS here, they're like, hey, you moving to Colorado Springs? I'm like, yes, I am. Well, there is this tattoo artist. He has a 1-year wait list. I'm like, nah, that's impossible. And he actually pulled up your work and showed me. And it was like way before I was in Colorado.
That's
and
awesome.
Here we are in 2020 sitting and chatting.
Nice.
How about that?
No, that's awesome.
So you're famous much beyond Colorado, my friend. So tell me, are you originally from Colorado? That's a question I have.
I mean, for the most part, I grew up in Texas when I was little. My dad he's an Army doc, stationed at Fort Carson when we moved here back in 1990. So I was young, I was 6 when I moved here, but as soon as we moved here, I mean, Colorado was home for us.
Colorado was
So
home.
yeah, I mean, I'm Texas born, but Colorado raised. So.
Okay, and how did you start your career in tattooing when?
Well, that's okay. So there's definitely a story to
Is
that.
there a story? These audiences want to hear your story, so yes.
I don't really. I'll get into it, but it definitely is a different story from others. I got into tattooing the wrong way. I was what we call a scratcher out of my house. I wanted to teach myself how to do it, but I didn't have the funds to be able to get into doing an apprenticeship, which is the proper way of doing it, and I would recommend that to anybody. But I was young and wanted to figure it out on my own, and I was so prideful. I was like, well, I've been an artist since I was a kid, and I love tattooing, and I'm gonna figure this out. And I just had this goal, and I knew I could become a professional, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. At the time, we didn't have internet. We didn't have a lot of stuff that allowed me the understanding of like watching a tattoo process and all those things. So I learned from the ground up of how to run electricity to learning how to solder and build my own needles and like everything else between that. So.
Okay, well, you look relatively young to me. I'm not going to judge by the age. So how many years have you been tattooing in Colorado Springs?
So I've been back for 6.5 years, since that's another part of the story as well. And before that, I worked for 3 years tattooing. So I've been almost a decade in.
Wow. So you must be doing something right to be one of the best tattoo artists in town with a 1-year wait list.
I am doing something right, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to share with our audience some other part of your story? What were you
Sure.
doing before you became a tattoo artist? Because
Well, like a lot of delinquents, I didn't have my life figured out.
show me a person who does have their life figured out.
Right.
Hello.
You know, I had, and I'll admit to this, I had a lot of drug and alcohol issues. I've been sober for 11 years, and I've been clean off drugs for 12. So that was a big part. But at the beginning, you know, that was my biggest struggle was in that. And so when I found tattooing as a way to be able to create a career for myself, still driven while I was hooked on the drugs that I was on, I found a path for myself. And eventually, you know, once I met my wife, doing a tattoo on her, and we started dating, and I just knew that I needed to make myself do something better for myself to be worthy of her, to be able to actually go further than just dating with her. And we did a long distance relationship for almost for 2 years, and yeah, we I made a lot of changes in that and got sober and clean, and so I've been that way ever since, and just continued to push my career in tattooing and trying to grow. And there was a long 4-year hiatus in my quitting tattooing. I'm not going to get into the extent of all the religious part of that, but it's part of my past. And when I got an opportunity to come back. I never wanted to leave it in the beginning, but I did it for my marriage and for my previous religious beliefs. And when I came back, I was just so full-fledged on learning everything I could again. And at the time I was going to school full-time, and got my degree in advertising and digital media design.
Nice.
And once I finished that, I came back full-time tattooing. I left Verizon. I'd been doing that full-time, doing sales and managing a store. And I just took every single part of the learning from advertising in school and part of sales with my previous work, and put it right back into trying to get myself back in this industry.
Wow, Daniel, what a story summed up to you in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah,
there's a lot more. If you want good stories, we could go into further.
If you want to have a great story, book a tattoo appointment with Daniel, and he's going to tell you all about that. But thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing this with our audiences, because it's definitely a story, and it's not easy to talk about it. I'm assuming at some points, you know. Yeah. But I know you have a beautiful wife, and you guys have 2 amazing little boys.
Yeah.
Aww. Yeah. How is your wife actively working with you? How's that working out?
My wife actually works for Johnson & Johnson. She audits pharmaceutical studies, so she travels for work and then is at home working, doing that. So she's a super busy woman on top of also being a mother, and so she comes in here when she can, but she helped me out a lot with getting the business end of this started with the paperwork. And since she audits, she was like, I'm going to make sure that we have all the paperwork and everything done correctly. And I'm like, hey, you're the best woman for the job for that. So she helped me a lot with that. And then, but everything as far as the design and the build up and like the business plan for this, it was all me. And she comes in and puts her fingerprint on some of the stuff in here. But this is, I definitely have I have a passion for interior design, and knew how I wanted to build this out to be a second home for myself and for my kids, because I like this to be a family establishment, and be able to have my kids and my wife and other people in here that feel comfortable to be able to bring their kids, and obviously not in the procedure area for children, but other than that, I want it to be comfortable for everybody.
So Daniel, that circles to this amazing venue we're sitting at. So I have been in tattoo shops before.
Sure.
And I'm gonna be completely honest. This place has no comparison to any other tattoo shops I've ever been to. The design, the atmosphere, the furniture, the smell, even the fragrance, even the music. So, dude, you did it the right way. It's definitely one of a kind. So, and clearly you have now your own studio, Royal Hart Inc., Colorado, right?
Yep.
So, how did that idea was born?
Okay. So if you can see my logo that's up in the back there. So I'm a junior. My middle name is Hart. I was named after my dad, who was named after my great uncle Hart, who was shot down in World War II. And a hart is a red deer stag, and it's the archaic name for a stag. And so I knew that I wanted to have that deer as part of my logo, but a royal hart is, it's a stag that's been hunted by royalty. It's at its highest point of maturity, and if it hasn't been taken down, then they consider that a royal hart. And so part of my logo has the arrows that are stuck in his neck, but because he's been taken down but couldn't through his perseverance, and so he's still standing strong. And it kind of relates, it actually 100% relates to myself, where I came from in the past, and the things that I've been able to overcome to be able to get myself to where I am now in my career with tattooing and with my family in general. So, and I'm an emotional person, so I wear my heart on my sleeve, and so part of that was with the tears of blood instead of the blood running down from the arrows. It's kind of representing my personality.
Yeah.
And then, there's a few other parts in the logo that have meaning as well, but it's really personal to me.
I knew the logo had a meaning, because as we were walking in and we were checking out your logo, I was like, there must be another story behind it, because the detail, it's cool. It's very, very cool. Daniel, the design is very modern and it's very chic. I feel I can have a glass of champagne while getting my tattoo done. Where did the inspiration came from?
Well, like I said before, I have a passion for interior design, at least as much as a tattoo artist, I guess, can. But I wanted to have a feel that would represent my artwork as much as it could. For my clients that would come into a studio, that would have an expectation of what my name was in the studio as much as it was in my tattoo work. So the front of the studio, I wanted to make it more modern and rustic, a little bit of a cigar bar kind of feel where it's relaxed. I did put a lot of thought and a lot of money into each of the materials in here. So by putting the money and the time into the design of all the couches, the sofas, the tables, everything from the teak root to the live edge to all the trim work, the granite, the live edge, all my underglowing, every single part. I mean, even the way that I rusted out the metal for my signage and welding that and setting those, and I mean to the pendant lights, every single little piece of this. I put all of it had an idea and it had a concept of what I was trying to go with, so that it gave my personality and like the way that I like to design my home and the way my wife and I enjoy having our home look. I wanted to have this as like a second home look, and especially if my kids were going to be here, my wife was going to come in to hang out at times, or anybody that's coming in that's expecting to have a good tattoo done would expect to be in a place that represented that. Yeah,
you'll be surprised how many people would not, because they don't know any better. But I feel like this particular tattoo boutique sets a brand new bar, not only for Colorado Springs, for many tattoo artists across America. So that brings up my next question. So who's your ideal client? I know right now we're filming this in January. You're booked up to October.
October right now.
Yeah. So who's your ideal client? Clearly, we understand you're not going to take little $20 tattoos, but talk to us because they want to know.
So I specialize in 3 different styles. I really enjoy doing neo-traditional. That's probably my favorite to work in. But I also really enjoy doing color realism and black and gray realism. I do a lot of floral work, a lot of floral color realism. I really enjoy doing that. So if you have a client that, my ideal client would be somebody that's gonna come in, say, hey, I want this realistic flower design or collage done on my arm in a half sleeve, where I know they're gonna be coming back and I know that they're gonna be doing exactly like the kind of style that I'm super into. Or if they're like, hey, I just want neo-traditional animals and flowers, you can never go wrong. So if you come in and tell me you want something neo-traditional, flowers or animals, like I'm the happiest dude in the world.
Wow. Well, look at that. This is awesome. And you guys can see through our B-roll all Daniel's work, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan. I follow you on Facebook and I tag you every time I can, because there is no other tattoo artist who does what you do and presents himself in such a professional and nice manner. So I hope a lot of people watch this, and I hope they check out your website, check out your Instagram. Now, talk to me. What are the big plans for 2020? Because I know men like yourself, entrepreneurs, are never stand still.
Sure. I had a lot of hope coming in and opening the studio. I was really hoping to find some good, solid artists to come and join me. And unfortunately, with the few people that I'd reached out to at the time, it didn't work out. They'd opened up their own studios, which I'm super proud of them and I'm happy for them. So I'm not, I don't get upset about it, but I would like to be able to fill. I have 3 extra chairs. I'm looking for artists that are going to be able to bring on, basically a talent that is going to be able to put my name behind it as well, and that I'm going to be proud of. But at the same time, they also need to be trustworthy people. They need to be, someone that I want to be in here, where if my wife and kiddos come in here, they're never going to feel weird by them, and it's going to have a good jive. So that's probably the hardest thing so far, because I'm never going to settle, and I won't just bring somebody in just because it would be nice to have their booth rent. And in the meantime, I'm coughing up the cost on my own and being willing to sit and be patient and wait until the right time comes. But for 2020, I'm ready to find those artists that are going to fill a good void that I have in here, and bring in a little bit of a family feel with me, and be able to create something new, so that hopefully in about 5 years, my next goal is to be able to open another studio in another location in town.
How about the west side, the best side? What?
That is kind of what I'm thinking of. I know it's really highly saturated, but I think that I'd really like to bring my name further down into the west side of town, and be able to bring on other artists that can add to my name and be able to bring in more. Because I mean, there's tattoo shops popping up and dropping down all the time. I mean, I believe there's over 80 licensed through the health department, El Paso County Health Department studios here in town. And so, but it goes up and down and fluctuates. But I'm not going around. I'm not leaving. I'm not going.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So hopefully that's going to be the next step. But it's just baby steps, one step at a time. I've kind of everything I've done in here has all just been kind of self-taught, and so I just take it a step at a time and just see an opportunity and just kind of go with it. So.
Okay, so self-taught, the best artist in town. How about that, guys? Daniel, it's been fantastic sitting down with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
I know we have to. Daniel literally has to go back to his client who's right now sitting in the chair and being very patient, so thank you. I cannot wait to come back to the studio and maybe get a piece myself.
I would
Don't
love
tell
that.
anyone.
Yes.
And it's been absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to see you grow and totally dominate 2020.
Thank you so much.
Friends, thank you so much for watching. Wow, what a fantastic story of Daniel Lang. If you comment, share, and like this post, Daniel is kind enough to offer what?
$100 off at your next tattoo.
$100 or your next tattoo with Daniel. Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you guys for watching.